Everybody, well, Trump gets a huge big win. Tonight, I'm telling you, we got a dang good show for you today. Like, there's just sometimes I get excited about doing a show, and tonight's one of them. More Democrats are dropping Kamala Harris left and right as she is sinking in the polls like a huge weight. Many Senate Democrats, are starting to distance themselves, and I'm laughing because it's hilarious. They're trying to distance themselves from Kamala Harris because they say that she doesn't have any base and she's losing in the polls, and they don't want to lose their races. On top of that, Kamala Harris is trying to distance herself from Joe Biden. Everybody's trying to distance themselves from everybody in the Democratic Party. And what's crazy is that they're all focused on each other and not on Trump. And that's a good thing. So while everybody is essentially dropping Harris, Joe's just out of nowhere. Yes, he's the president, but he's a lame duck president now. Trump is gaining in the polls. He just got a huge endorsement from the Border Patrol. All 16,000 endorsed him. All the union members of the border. So he is winning big time. On top of that, the scandals are coming out for all the news stations that have covered up Kamala Harris's bad interviews. And it's hilarious, I'm telling you. But just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. Just want to say thank you to all of our members in the chat already. Check it out. We already got Sandra Mario Enzi, Mr. Tracy J. Norby. Guys, y'all are killing it. I love it. Pam Campbell. Thank y'all so much. Want to give a shout out to Joanne Smith for giving a super chat donation, and everybody that is blessing not only the hurricane victims, because remember, with the membership donations and the super chats, we're going to make a huge donation in a little over a week to those through the Samaritan's Purse. It's going to be amazing. We're all coming together to do good. But I appreciate every single one of y'all. Remember, join the True Life News family. The link is in the description. We got a good show for y'all, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. Check it out.
NBC's data guru boils the Kamala polling crash down to a simple premise: who is helping you and who is hurting you?
We asked about President Biden's policies. Are they helping or hurting your family? Just a quarter of voters said they're helping. Nearly half said they're hurting.
Yeah.
And then here's the interesting twist. We also asked folks, think back to when Donald Trump was president. Did his policies help or hurt your family? And look at the difference. 44% helping, 31% hurting. Trump's, the retrospective, you would say, opinion of Trump's presidency among voters, arguably higher now than when he was president.
This is
So,
big.
Jesse, good to see you.
You too.
Thanks.
I don't mean that.
No, I know you don't.
I don't want to look at you anymore.
I don't want to look at you anymore.
The show's been too much.
Yeah, I know. But look, hey.
You guys, it's Monday.
We keep hearing about the October surprise. Is the October surprise the polling?
Could be. I thought it was the hurricanes, but the polling's a mess if you're a Democrat. If you're a Republican like myself, I told you so. Didn't say red wave, but I told you so. The polling and the betting markets are a disaster. Barack Obama is scolding black Americans. She's raised $1 billion
Backfired.
and is losing. I think they're stealing her money because, they get a cut when they do these ad buys on television. The media strategy, they've changed it. She's doing Brett Baer's show. I think Doug wants to be one lucky guy. He's trying to get booked on Outnumbered. And she shot the whole rationale for her candidacy right in the heart when she said that I wouldn't do anything differently. And now she's looking for ways to separate herself from Joe Biden. But she's such a machine politician, she doesn't know how to do that. She's always just said yes and gotten ahead. She's always agreed with the party boss and gotten promoted. And now she's the party boss. But she's still loyal to Joe because she knows she didn't earn it. And so she's scared because she's never had to make her own decision. And she's afraid of Biden because no one F's with a Biden. And any Democrat that's criticized Biden, look at Eric Adams. So she's nervous about criticizing him. Trump doesn't need to do anything more.
No.
What else does he have to prove? She's trying to bait him, and it looks desperate because she's down and she knows it. He's gotten 7 debates under his belt. I mean, they've raided his house. They've leaked his tax returns. What else do we need to see? Honestly, we've seen too much from Donald Trump. We know exactly what he's going to do and when he's going to do it. He's now wiser. He's not going to then agree to a debate that's just going to have no upside. He smells a trap. It's not worth it. And he already agreed to the Fox debate. He agreed to 2 debates. She said no to the Fox debate, and now she wants another one. Sorry, it's too late.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Les.
Mr. Tracy J. Norby with the super chat. He said, it's a wonder they are now seeing the light. Kamala has alienated all the border security, and their agents, like 15,000 of them, are backing Trump now. Let's go. Everybody show Mr. Tracy J. Norby some love in the chat.
Clip, it was definitely baiting. It was like no one was taking that seriously. Harold, I think you were one of the first people to say that they needed to concentrate more on policy. And I think you're seeing TDS exhaustion. Judge, so Kamala keeps saying, oh, she wants to separate herself from Joe. And then, of course, she gets accused of plagiarism, which, again, it puts her in sync with Joe.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, they're 2 peas from the same pot.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the one who was supporting him, saying, you know, everything is fine with his health. I mean, you don't have to worry about Joe. He's got more energy than all of us. But I think what's amazing is she says that it's time to turn the page. She said, I'm going to have a new way forward, and I'm not Joe Biden, but she is not smart enough. I got to tell you, Harold, how could you be running for president of the United States of America and not be smart enough to say, gee, I already said in one speech what I would do differently. Why can't I remember what I said in that speech to explain to the American people why I will be different? The woman she just doesn't have the wits about her in terms of politics, which makes sense because she didn't get 1 vote to be in this position. They threw Joe under the bus. And I got to tell you, I love the Axios article. I love this whole thing about the palace intrigue. You know, either Joe Biden is intentionally stepping on her or they're just not coordinating. And maybe they're not coordinating, according to the Axios article, because the Biden people are upset or because, you know, her people aren't giving the Biden people the respect that they deserve. But the truth is, all of a sudden, we see Joe Biden walking into the press room, interrupting Karine Jean-Pierre to say the longshoreman strike is, you know, it's over until January, when she's in Michigan about to take credit for it. And the thing that keeps happening with DeSantis, I work with DeSantis, he's great. And she's accusing DeSantis of not caring when things are at a terrible, terrible stage. But her hypocrisy, her inability to identify what the American people want to hear from a candidate for president is just stunning to me. She shouldn't be running for town council.
Let me tell you this. Everything is just imploding. So let's check this out. So Time magazine actually came out, and they're probably one of the most far left, Democratic leaning newspapers or magazines out there. Says Harris declined repeated requests for an interview for this story. In contrast, Trump talked about his policy vision with a Time reporter for 90 minutes across 2 interviews. Biden spoke to Time at similar length before dropping out of the race. Like, they're literally smacking her and saying, look, this candidate won't even talk to anybody, even her most loyal magazine supporters. That's how bad of a candidate she is. And it doesn't end there, y'all. I'm telling you, like I said, this is going to be a dang good show. Check out this news. If you were looking for a laugh, if you were looking for some good news today, I got you. Check this out.
However much you revile these idiots, it's not enough. Catherine Herridge, who is an amazing reporter and a really wonderful woman, is demanding 61 Minutes release their transcript of the Kamala Harris scandal. The Kamala Harris interview, which they clearly edited. You've got so many media scandals going on right now. Candidly, folks, it's hard to keep track. She says, unless I'm missing something, 61 Minutes released the full transcript of the Jerome Powell interview in February 2024. She even has transcripts. Here we go. So they've done this before. There's precedent. So you edited an answer for Kamala Harris to protect her, you media hacks at CBS, you fake news goons, and you still won't release the transcript? Ladies and gentlemen, how bad is it? How bad is this answer that they're still hiding the football 61? Why not 60 Minutes? Because they added one for Kamala Harris. No one should refer to them as 60 Minutes anymore. They're 61 Minutes. They add an extra minute for Democrats to cover up Democrat show answers. Folks, this is really bad. This is getting so bad that even Time magazine, Time, which is the biggest left-wing goon outlet out there, they're even acknowledging Kamala Harris is even ducking them now. Quote, Kamala Harris declined repeated requests for an interview for this story. In contrast, Trump talked about his policy vision with a Time reporter for 90 minutes across 2 interviews. Biden spoke to Time at a similar length before dropping out of the race. The woman is running scared, folks. Everybody is trying to get out ahead of this. Let me put you in a little scenario here so you understand what's going on. Sometimes it's hard to understand liberal left-wing lunacy. You can't understand that unless I change the names and put it in a Republican box because you're not crazy like the left. I want you to compare this to 2016. 2016, towards the end, a lot of Republicans were convinced Trump was going to lose. Not me. You can go back and listen to my podcast. The receipts are everywhere. Listen to my podcast on Monday night before the election. It's probably out there on SoundCloud. I predicted this guy was going to win, so I'm not throwing myself under the bus because I have the evidence otherwise. However, a good swath of the Republican Party was convinced he was going to lose. For about 3 weeks before the 2016 election, there were pre-narratives going out there. People putting out there like distancing themselves from Trump. I'm not a part of this kind of stuff. Because after the election, they don't want to be blamed for being part of the collapse. Do you get it? That's what's happening now. That's why you're seeing now the left-wing media, Saturday Night Live, CBS and others. That's why you're seeing them.
They're all deserting her. Big time. It's not even like it's so apparent. Everybody's just like, dang, I thought they supported Democrats. Shafika Rahim, thank you so much for the super chat. And Sandra Mario Enzi says, Joel, you're doing wonderful work. We all have to keep it up. Let's go, everybody. Show them some love in the chat.
Desperately trying to cover up their role in all this because they know this is a total mess. It's so bad that I need you to start to prepare for 2 things. You ready? Commit this to memory because this is going to happen. Folks, if we win on election night, I'm going to tell you right now, flag it, flags in the chat, please. And I really hope I'm wrong. I hope this is one of those flag it moments where you laugh at me afterwards. If we win on election night, November to January, when Donald Trump swears in, it's going to be absolute chaos. There is absolutely no way, although I use the term absolutely twice, and I don't like that, no way the Democrats let Trump take office without trying everything in and outside of their power. I'm talking violence, I'm talking chaos, I'm talking certification issues to stop it. There is nothing out of bounds for them. Dan, those are big claims. They require big evidence. I got you, as I always do. Axios, October 10th. Some top Democrats won't commit to certifying a Trump win. I don't say shit without receipts.
Do y'all see this? This is insane. They are 100% after him. Look at the date. It's October 10th. We haven't even had the election, but they're already saying, hey, if Trump wins, we're not going to certify it. Now, you want to talk about who's a threat to democracy?
Why do we like the supermarket, folks? Because we always give you a receipt. Every time. Every time. You think the crazies reached peak crazy? Oh, we're not even close. Here is John Brennan, a humiliating, disgusting, communist, grotesque, tyrant fascist who should be in jail, who was our former CIA director. He's an absolute scumbag. I met this guy. He's an egomaniac and a complete piece of human garbage. A guy knee-deep in the disastrous Russia hoax, which probably could have caused a world war. He was knee-deep in the whole thing. Here's this piece of filth. He's back again, pumping the Russia hoax again, showing you again, this man has no human dignity at all. He doesn't care people know he's lying. They will do anything to stop it. And I'm telling you now, the reason I'm putting this here is if we win in November to January, get ready for deep state involvement, claiming Trump stole it again with the Russians. No, Dan, they won't do that again. Oh, they will, and they're already preparing for it. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if they even opened up a full-blown investigation, try to arrest them before January. And you shouldn't either. You doubt me? Receipts incoming. Watch this.
Well, it's unsurprising, and we also know how much Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have been best buds for a number of years. And so the fact that a president of the United States can do these things, I think, should really give us concern about, Donald Trump getting back into the White House, because he can do these things irrespective of the logic, common sense, or what's in U.S. national security interests. Who knows what he did in terms of his conversations that Bob Woodward says that he had with Vladimir Putin?
Folks, and here's the problem with the crazy outside of the freaking crazy, outside of the fact that John Brennan is unbelievably, after being busted, this scum, after being busted fabricating an entire Russia hoax that could have caused a world war, ruined international relations, he has no problem doing it again. The problem is other countries are seeing this. Do you get where I'm going to go with this? Other countries understand that John Brennan will destroy the United States, him, Comey, and others, before Donald Trump is ever allowed to swear in, because they know the deep state madness is over. Other countries see this, and I am deathly afraid that they are preparing something too for November to January to take advantage of the chaos. Biden will be the lamest of lame ducks. Kamala Harris's political career will be destroyed. She'll be forced to certify a Trump win. The Democrats will be basically powerless, but the Republicans won't have power yet. Congress doesn't swear in right away, and the president doesn't swear in until January. And the signs are everywhere that enemies of the United States are planning something. You just have to see them.
And that is exactly where we're at right now. I'm telling you, there's stuff coming out of the woodworks when on October 10th, they come out and say they're not going to certify the election. If Trump wins, we're in a bad spot. Threat to democracy. This is your update. We show you this almost every single show. Trump right now in the poly market today is up 55% compared to Harris's 45%. We have Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, and Wisconsin with Trump winning against Kamala Harris, but still losing by 2% in Nevada. But that's okay. If we get everything else, he wins. But this is the biggest upset right here. Georgia, 64-36. Arizona, 67-33. Why? Arizona, because Arizona has been hit by hardest by what? The border. And that's why what you're about to see now is hilarious, because even though they try to say she wasn't the border czar, even though they try to say that, oh, it wasn't Harris, it was Biden, they're all imploding on each other now. Check this out.
Well, we begin with a new report revealing President Biden's fury at being overthrown by Vice President Harris, and it's now threatening to derail her campaign.
This
How
is
far
nuts.
we have come from this iconic Biden-Harris moment.
We did it, Joe.
Oh, it's so cringy, y'all. I'm
You're
sorry.
gonna be the next president of the United States.
So fake.
What a memory. It was all smiles from Vice President Kamala Harris when President Biden won in 2020. But now, almost 4 years later, where is the love? Ever since the Democrats' coup, tension is escalating between the Biden and Harris teams. Listen to this. According to Axios, quote, the relationship between Kamala Harris's team and Joe Biden's White House has been increasingly fraught in the final weeks before Election Day. We saw this take shape last week when President Biden held a surprise White House press briefing moments before Vice President Kamala Harris was about to speak at a Michigan rally. Coincidence? That is opposite messaging. And not only did he stomp on her Michigan rally, he literally came out and said that she is a reason that all the policies came about, making sure they were singing from the same song sheet. At a certain point, you have to ask, and we'll put this up, we remember Biden putting on the MAGA hat. You've got to ask, is this sabotage?
Right, and I think the answer is likely somewhere in the middle, frankly, because I think that what we have seen coming from the president is his stubbornness coming out. I think, frankly, that he's had enough. And I think what I'm saying that from, though, is the person, Joe Biden, not the president. I think we have yet to see him sort of rise to the occasion of being presidential, but it seems like to me that, frankly, He was over it the second that he was pushed out of his party. And I think we saw that first in him sort of hiding out and licking his wounds a bit. And now he's coming out and he's saying, you know what, I just don't care anymore. But it also shows the fractured quality of the nature of the Harris campaign. We know that there was sort of a plug and play that happened, right, with her policies were first articulated and had 19 occurrences of Joe Biden in there instead of her. There has not been a seamless transition. The machine is not infallible. Frankly, it is quite fallible. And so we've seen, as she's calling on the old guard to come out, those were many members that A, stayed quiet when it was Biden's turn, and B, are coming out simply to preserve the party, not because they actually like Kamala Harris or don't like Joe Biden. I think the reality is that the party and the campaign have become very stale. And so what we are seeing is a president clinging to his last throes of power, and we are seeing a vice president that sees herself mostly as simply a candidate, and her exasperation and her grasping at final straws is in full force.
Morgan's.
Let me tell you this. So y'all heard Obama came out and he basically told all the black men that they suck if they don't vote for Kamala Harris. And that has just made that made black women mad. That's made black men mad. I mean, just totally wrong message. Then Bill Clinton. So they're like, okay, we need Bill Clinton out there. Let's get him to start, doing some campaigning for Kamala Harris. Well, he comes out and says, well, you know what? Yeah, that girl from Georgia, Laken Riley, well, yeah, she'd be alive right now if we actually vetted people at the border. So that's why we need to vet people at the border. So I'm telling you, everything has just caved in on Kamala Harris' entire election. I would not be surprised for the red wave. That's why we asked the question. Pam Campbell, thank you so much for the super chat, first timer. Everybody show Pam some love in the chat. Let me know your thoughts, guys.
The Axios story is about Biden basically stomping on Harris. You and I worked in government at the same time. You were at the State Department, I was at the White House, and there would be reporters who would come to you for something and come to me for something, and ideally the administration is all speaking from the same exact set of points.
Yes.
But here is the important point of the Axios story. Andrew Bates from the White House came out, denied it, pushed back. The 9 most important words from the story: Harris's official office and her campaign declined to comment. So they're not commenting, they're not supporting the White House's narrative.
Well, and just for our audience to know, too, I always wonder if it's like incompetence or conspiracy. I normally go with incompetence when it comes to government. It's very easy, when you look at a press conference, it's very easy to work these things out, right? My team will call Kaylee's team, what time are you going on today? So then Pompeo needs to go on, make sure that we're not, interrupting what's happening at the Defense Department. This happens every single day. And when you were in the White House, when I was in the State Department, very easy for us to reach out to the campaign to make sure that we weren't interrupting messaging that was happening there. So that's either incompetence or it is actually a conspiracy by the Biden team to do an impromptu press conference. There was no, missiles landing at U.S. bases at that moment. There was no need for an impromptu press conference. That could have been taken care of behind the scenes.
Keyword, impromptu. Remember, they all have their dang schedules. They all know where everything is at all times. Everything's coordinated. Biden does not want Kamala Harris to win because she kicked him out and he thinks that he could have beaten Trump.
Second point, I would just say you're starting to see the blame game going on behind the scenes. And I think that's in preparation for a potential loss. People are starting to point fingers, and that's a big, big part of this. Because in the event, they're hedging, right? In the event that she loses, they want to make sure that they had it on the record with these Washington reporters who have been there long before Kamala, will be there long afterwards. They want to make sure that they have a good relationship with these reporters to say, hey, remember, I warned you about this before the election happened.
That's right. It's interesting. And, there's another story out today, and it's NBC. And I want to play a moment from the debate. And this NBC story is about Harris and whether she should separate herself from Joe Biden and what they're weighing in terms of strategy. This was apparently the most popular line, or among them, according to CNN, that Harris had in the debate.
She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad. And she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden.
Okay, Griff, so according to CNN, that was one of the most popular lines of the debate, according to internal polling. Well, NBC, at the very bottom of their piece, they have this. Biden was particularly stung by the line, according to 3 people familiar with his comments. So he's stung by it.
Yeah, 3 people familiar. And if you go back to that Axios thing, the telltale sign that things are frosty, to put it mildly, is they say at the very beginning, 10 people familiar with the story. Well, 10 people means both sides want to get it out. And it does sting because it goes back. Remember, Ron Klain, Biden's first chief of staff, told The Atlantic that, well, maybe we did fail to elevate Vice President Harris's profile. Remember, she was mad from the very beginning. Here we are now at the end, and they've got a dilemma to figure out what to do with him. There's 22 days left. You can't put him back on the campaign trail, even if he's not holding, press conferences to sideline your TV appearances. He's going to make the case that he had one of the most successful presidencies. She's trying to move a new path forward, and it doesn't jive. Even if you coordinated the messaging, as Morgan was pointing out, is such a challenge. What's the messaging going to be? Were we successful, or do we need to move to something different?
Yes, and according to one source close to Harris, this stood out to me too, her level of loyalty is incredible. So she feels she has to have this loyalty to Biden. And this comes as we learn that in an NBC poll, Trump gained 5 points against Harris. And when you dig a level deeper, who is the change candidate? She has lost 5 points in that category.
They are now neck and neck, each at 48%, as you're seeing. But look at that change from the month of September.
NBC poll, y'all. This is NBC, and look where it's at. This is huge. Mr. Tracy J. Norby with the super chat. He said, I wondered how they all would react to 2 or 3 million voters showing up at the Capitol that certification day, and Harris is sitting inside just like Pence did 4 years ago. I believe her pantsuit will be filled up with crap. Yep. Hey, I believe it. I 100% agree. Show Mr. Tracy J. Norby some love in the chat, everybody.
That is a huge drop for her, and it actually goes back to the issue with President Biden and trying to differentiate herself from him, in particular his economic policies. But the pollsters that conducted this NBC poll said basically that there are concerns that the vice president does not represent change for President Joe Biden. Voters are seeing Trump's presidency in now a more positive light than Biden's, and as summer has turned to fall, any signs of momentum for her have stopped. And so, obviously, to your point, going to the back, what happens in the back channels in Washington and who's speaking to who on a background as a source. Obviously, the Biden team is saying, okay, look, if she's in trouble, then we're going to make sure that we are painted in a better light. And that's what he's doing.
It's a great point because at the end of the day, Biden wants Harris to win. He doesn't want Trump to win, but yet I think maybe you're seeing a little bit, and you and Morgan can speak to this, Washington egos really standing up and getting in the way.
I'll bet you President Biden wants her to win, but I'll bet you personal Joe Biden would love
for her to lose.
And great point. And then she says that her loyalty is incredible. Well, that loyalty may take you back to California. You can stare at a cardboard cutout of Biden and remain loyal for the next 4 to 8 years.
Let me tell you this, y'all. The more that we're seeing coming through, because people, these clips, remember what Bongino says, all elections are what? They're what does he say? They're news clips and sound bites. I'm telling you. Hey, David's Daily Global with the first super chat, first timer. Let's go. Thank you, David. Hey, everybody, show David some love in the chat. All these dang media outlets are trying to make Biden and Harris's campaign look like it's glorious or it's just not that bad. And people are like, are you kidding me? You can't make this crap up. They're delusional. Check this out.
It's decided to press vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance over Trump's comments. And Vance then went viral for his response. Watch.
President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened.
Martha.
I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs.
It's only a
and
handful,
Donald
guys.
Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs.
Okay, let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said. I want to move on to
just a few apartment complexes, no big deal.
No big
My
deal,
gosh,
y'all.
Kaylee, what a remarkable exchange that, right to JD Vance's point, illustrates exactly where the left-wing media is.
Yeah. Martha, Martha, Martha. Okay. Look, Martha. First, we were told by the Democratic governor of Colorado that this was a figment of our imagination. Then Martha Raddatz tells us, oh, it's just a handful. She is a D.C. swamp journalist telling people who live in these working class apartments in Aurora, Colorado, that they should be okay with this, that their residences should just be taken over. This has happened across the nation, gang members committing crimes. In fact, we've seen crimes by Trinidad Agua in Aurora, Miami, Chicago, Indianapolis, New York City, Dallas, and Wisconsin. Martha, how many buildings have to be taken over for you to give a flying flip about this?
Ooh.
What if it was your home, Martha Raddatz? Tell us you're a D.C. swamp journalist without telling us outright. That is shameful.
And bringing the swampiness, Griff, even further to the entire network, like they doubled down after that. Let's take a look here. So ABC News doubled down essentially on the coverage, right? So they put out, Vance stands by Trump's false claims about Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado. Now, contrast that, Griff, with today's New York Post cover that gets it right. Pay to pray. What say you?
Well, look, I think Kaylee's got it right. And with due respect to Martha Raddatz, she says in that clip, I know what's going on. No, you don't, because I have spoken directly to the chief of the Border Patrol, the commissioner of CBP, the director of ICE, all who have told me directly that Tren de Aragua and the fear of them taking over is a priority that they're focusing on right now. 4 years ago, Tren de Aragua wasn't even on the radar. And you look at the Venezuelan ties.
And I want to say that too. I've never heard in my entire life Venezuelan gangs or anything like that. I mean, it's so bad that Governor Abbott over Texas declared them a like national threat. Like, that's how bad that they are, and he wants to take them out. But yet, that lady, she literally acted like it wasn't a big deal. Guys, this is how bad the left is getting. But what's hilarious is that everybody, the majority of common sense people, actually see it and are like, bro, you're crazy.
Possibly to Tren de Aragua, and 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungare raped and murdered by two Venezuelans who were released by this administration in Houston. Is that only one 12-year-old girl? Look at Laken Riley in Georgia. Is that only one nursing student? The brother tied to Tren de Aragua, the murderer likely tied to it as well. Look, she is absolutely missing the point of the threat.
Yes.
And I wish that the officials would allow us to do an interview with those top border officials to say, this is our top concern.
That's right. And to Griff's point, so Morgan, I know you've been to the border a ton too, and the Border Union Patrol had this quote. He came out and he's supporting President Trump, and he's warning about the election.
I have a message for you. If we allow Border Czar Harris to win this election, every city, every community in this great country is going to go to hell.
Dang.
Only one man can fix that. That is Donald J. Trump.
Yet again, according to ABC News, though, nothing to see here.
You know, I look at the video of those Border Patrol guys, and I think not only do they put their lives on the line for our country, because we have ceded operational control of our border to the cartels. Something that I learned at the border recently is how many have committed suicide. Sadly, the suicide rate amongst
really
Border
sad.
Patrol is so high. And just seeing that picture, I wanted them to know, and I know so many of them watch Fox News, how much we appreciate what they do. But also, J.D. Vance is totally right. The acceptable number of apartment complexes that should be taken over by Venezuelan gangs in the United States is zero. And it's not just the Venezuelan gangs, it's also the Iranian plots that we just talked about, the Chinese having secret police stations that has been reported on extensively in the United States. Our enemies are within our borders, and this administration is largely ignoring it.
There's also an entire thread, Cheryl, about the impact it might have on the election, right? And when pressed about it, Mayorkas said, oh no, nothing to see here, no, absolutely not. We'll show that. Take a watch.
What a powerful example of disinformation. There is no facts underlying these assertions. They are extremely damaging. It causes people to lose confidence in the integrity of the election system. The notion that we in law enforcement have sought to intentionally allow individuals to cross the border illegally for the purpose of voting is preposterous.
What?
And everyone
I don't think it
should
is.
condemn that rhetoric. Everyone, regardless of party affiliation.
Looks like the wires being crossed from the two candidates happened yet again, Cheryl, because let's take a watch to what Kamala Harris said about what she would do about those illegal immigrants crossing the border. Watch.
One of the biggest problems with failure to have a comprehensive plan for immigration is that we have not given them the pathway to earn their right to citizenship. And that is, again, that is one of the priorities for me, frankly, in terms of my motivation for what I know we must do.
Every point that has been made on this couch in the last 5 minutes points back to one thing, and that is that she knows they are in trouble on the issue of immigration. Even that NBC News poll, what would motivate you most to go vote in November? Number one was abortion, right behind it, immigration. And that is going to play out in Arizona, that's going to play out in Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, so on and so forth. Back to New York City really quick.
I'm telling you this. Summerman, thank you so much for the super chat. They say, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. It is, because just as she just mentioned Pennsylvania, well, looky here. We got another polling out. Trump's winning in Pennsylvania in the electoral votes. This is big. The Pennsylvania is like one of the most key states out there. You got to win Pennsylvania in order for you to have the highest likelihood of winning the election. But Donald Trump came out and tweeted this. He said, I believe it's very important that Kamala Harris pass a test on cognitive stamina and agility. Her actions have led many to believe that there could be something very wrong with her. Even 60 Minutes and CBS, in order to protect lying Kamala, illegally and unscrupulously replaced an answer she had given, which was totally bonkers, with another answer that had nothing to do with the question asked. Also, she is slow and lethargic in answering even the easiest of questions. We see this across the board. If it's not on a teleprompter for her to read, she has trouble reading it out. And that's where a lot of people are saying there's no way that this person can really be the president of the United States if they cannot do what? Answer a simple question. On top of that, you got Trump out here. He just said that he was going to give $10,000 to those every Border Patrol agent. I want to give some thumbs up, some fireworks for Trump for taking care of those that are trying to do their job at the southern border. He said he's going to give them $10,000 for those that are working, $10,000 to new border patrollees. He said he was also going to make sure that they hire another 10,000 to protect the southern border and protect America. On top of that, he also said he's going to get Elon Musk to come in here and clean house to get more taxpayer money. Check this out.
Elon Musk, the cost cutter in chief. Listen to this.
Cost cutter in chief.
Not in the cabinet. He doesn't want to be in the cabinet. He just wants to be in charge of cost cutting. We'll have a new position, Secretary of Cost Cutting, okay? Elon wants to do that. And we have incredible people. He's running a big business. You know, he can't just say, oh, I think I'll go into the cabinet. You know, other people can. He can't. But Elon's a little bit different in that sense. And besides that, I want him to send the rocket up to Mars. He said, he's made me a promise he'll get to Mars before the end of my administration.
Kevin, I'd love to see nothing more than Musk actually succeed in that kind of role. But you're an executive, you run companies, you've had to cut costs. Can an outsider in government do what the former president says Musk can do?
Well, let's go down the checklist and whether we, on a bipartisan basis, because this idea should work for red and blue. Is there fat in the federal government? Check the box on that, yes. There's always been fat. No one's really taken a knife to it really yet. Number two, there's always people with great ideas, but executional skills are almost impossible to find. Every idea that Musk brings to the market, he executes on, including catching a giant rocket, out of space, as we saw yesterday. Absolutely incredible. Chopsticks, as they're called. Those are called executional skills. I would pay to see the movie where they unleash Elon Musk on the federal government in looking for efficiencies. That is a great idea. I 100% endorse this. He would do a fantastic job for every single taxpayer. Release the hounds. Let's go.
One of our favorite stories on set, Kevin, happened over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal about big money in private equity investing in entrepreneurs and small businesses as it comes to plumbers and HVAC. Is that the future?
100%, and I'll tell you why. I look at this. I'm a private equity guy. Their biggest challenges for any plumber, let's just take plumbing for a second. Every household needs a plumber at some point, is their customer acquisition. How do they get their customers? Once you fix a sink, it may not break down for another 5 years. So within 100 miles, geographic miles of where that plumber operates, you need to acquire customers. How is that done? With social media. The cost, customer acquisition cost, keeps going up, even if you're using remnant television. So the idea is you aggregate plumbers under one platform so you cut the cost of acquiring customers. That's why PE firms are saying, let's buy all the plumbing operations, get the best plumbers to operate and manage all the other plumbers, and then invest in customer acquisition. It's definitely going to happen in every profession, not just plumbers. It's going to be house builders, dentists, lawyers, you name it. You're seeing it happen. It's the digitization of America, and it's a big investment opportunity, and I'm investing in it too.
Sorry, y'all.
Kevin O'Leary,
Let me tell you this. I've got a lot of things to show y'all. I'm getting excited over here. I'm getting too excited, y'all. Look at this right here. So not only do we get the cost cutter who's going to come in and actually save Americans some money, I've got a list of all the 440, this is a list, 440 federal agencies. I'm scrolling to show you all of them that we are paying for every single day. Taxpayer money right here, Federal Register 440. So Elon Musk comes out and they ask him and they say, hey bro, and I love how I'm saying that because they didn't say it like that, but they said, hey, how much do you think that we can scale back? How much do you think that we will be able to effectively reduce the federal government, save taxpayer money, and be able to reduce agencies? He literally said, check this out. He said, well, there's about 440. We have more agencies than the years that the United States has been up. He said, we can probably get down to 99. Like, are you kidding me? To go from this huge list right here, this huge list of 440 agencies to 99. What does this say? It says that he wouldn't just say that for anything. Remember, this is a billionaire. Everything that he says is intentional. Everything that he does is intentional. They're not going to make a mistake like just out of nowhere just because he wants to get showtime. No, they probably already looked at it. They probably already know that with all that extra fat, we can cut it down to 99. And do you realize how much taxpayer money that would save? On top of that, Trump is over here focused on taking care of Americans, getting them more money, doing all these tax credits, taking care of our border. And then you got Kamala Harris and you got Kamala Harris and President Biden that are fighting like cats and dogs over the presidency. I mean, this is how bad it's getting, y'all. Check this out. Let me pull this up. It's to the point now. I don't want to say too soon, but man, this could feel like a red wave, y'all. I'm telling you, the Democrats are in panic mode.
The debate. The party is leaking like crazy
Anxiety, despair is the mood in Washington. The Harris campaign is stuck in the mud. And behind the scenes, Democrats are worried she's stalled and her so-called lead has evaporated.
Vice President Kamala Harris had a 5-point lead in our last poll taken a month ago, right after the debate. That lead has all but evaporated, Willie. Take a look at this new head-to-head matchup. 48% to 48%. That is what we call a deadlocked race.
At this point in the election, Hillary was up 7. Biden was up 9. The betting markets have Trump's chance of winning is better than 50-50. And the battlegrounds are all tied up. So if the polls are as wrong as they usually are, we could know the winner on election night. Democrats are jittery. Trump's numbers are historic.
And the bottom line is this. At this particular hour, if you believe the polling, Donald Trump's going to put up the best performance with black voters since Richard Nixon back in 1960. Not 68, since 1960. That's 64 years ago. Among Hispanic voters, Donald Trump's going to put up the best performance for Republicans since 2004 and George W. Bush.
The media is preparing for the worst. They're wargaming a Trump sweep. Newsweek is even throwing around the L word. Landslide. What? 3 weeks until Election Day, and it's already started. The panicked phone calls.
Concern in Wilmington and greater concern amongst Democratic elected officials who I hear from daily asking me what I know, because they know I know some stuff, and telling me explicitly and through their questions, they are worried, okay? Doesn't mean she won't win, but that's how we head into the weekend, okay? Democrats are worried about where things stand.
Democrat insiders are growing worried that the euphoria over Harris's entry into the race hasn't translated. They say she hasn't given voters enough reason to vote for her, and she's feeling the pressure. Barack sent her on a media blitz, and she said she was no different than Biden. And now the Harris campaign is changing strategies again. After snubbing the Fox debate, now Kamala is going to be sitting down with Bret Baier this Wednesday.
That's huge.
All week, Kamala is going to be playing defense. She'll be campaigning only in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Her map is shrinking, but she claims she has faith.
It is easy in these moments of crisis to question our faith, to sometimes lose our faith for a moment, because what we see is so hard to see that we lose faith or a vision of those things we cannot see but must know.
I don't know what she just said. So after calling on the Messiah to scold wavering black men, Democrats are letting loose the comeback kid. But there's one problem. Nobody recognizes him.
Oh, I know. Hey, he looks bad. She called him Joe, guys. Hold up. She just called him Joe. She said, "Are you Joe? Are you Joe?" He said, "No, Bill Clinton." Oh, man.
White guys look alike, I know. And after Bill Clinton got shortchanged at McDonald's, he sabotaged her campaign at a rally. We'll have more on that later. But Democrats think someone else is sabotaging her campaign.
Oh, I know it.
Joe Biden. Insiders believe that Biden still holds resentment over how he was forced out, and he wants to remind people who's the boss. Now, just on Friday, he told Harris to hush up.
The fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, well, we're going to have to, I know I'm going to go to the vice president in a second. She's my boss here.
That's a tricky song.
We're going to be, hang on a second, man.
Sure.
10 sources, 10, tell Axios that the relationship between Kamala's campaign and the White House has been increasingly fraught and awkward. Senior Biden aides are still wounded by the coup. NBC says Biden personally was stung when Harris used the "I'm not Joe Biden" line at the debate. Now, Harris insiders say they need to grow up. They're too much in their feelings. But they hate that Biden keeps bigfooting them. One person in the middle of it says, the White House is lacking someone in the room thinking first and foremost about how things would affect the campaign. You know, Biden might want to let Kamala know that Israel's going to bomb Iran at any minute. Just a heads up, Madam Vice President, don't want this to be a surprise. And Harris's handlers are pressuring her to throw Joe under the bus.
Wow.
And do whatever she needs to do to win. But Kamala can't do it because she's been a machine politician her whole life. And she's only gotten ahead by kissing up to the party boss. Even though she's kind of the party boss herself now, she knows she didn't earn it, so she can't act like a boss. And she's scared of blasting Biden, even if it helps her win, because no one F's with a Biden. Any Democrat who's gone against Joe didn't last long. Look at Gold Bar Bob. Look at Eric Adams. So the longer she stays loyal, the more likely it is she'll lose. And if she throws him under the bus, then Joe goes after her. To no win.
Name something that you keep in your glove compartment. Oh, VP Harris.
Steve, look. Guys, let me tell you this. I've been through this before. If I don't fast forward this a little bit, they will copyright my butt and take my video down. They already have done it in the past. I'm sorry.
So they know it's a sinking ship, and the media has been given the green light to ridicule her. And they keep going. Watch.
Cohen has raised
$1 billion. Nope. I am so sorry, y'all, for this. Because it's super funny. I've seen it.
3 months. And she's still the underdog. If Trump had that money, he could win California. But as everybody knows, money can't buy you love. The candidate is still Kamala Harris.
Ain't that the truth?
Douglas McKinnon in The Hill says Democrats have come to the realization that Harris is simply not a very good candidate. She lacks confidence and is seemingly terrified to take any unrehearsed or unvetted policy questions.
Wow.
Harris is also a member of the Biden-Harris administration, an administration so bad that the party wouldn't let the president run for re-election because it'd be a guaranteed wipeout. And now the party's fighting with each other because they nominated a far-left San Francisco politician out of step with regular Americans. Binder is back to fighting with Kirby over who controls the briefing room. Harris is fighting with Joe. Barack's fighting with the blacks. Harris is even fighting with her own super PAC. When Democrats are fighting with each other, they're not fighting Trump.
Yep.
And they're definitely not fighting for you.
Let me tell you this. I love it. I appreciate everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Man, I've enjoyed tonight's show so much. I think we've had a lot of fun in the chat, a lot of fun watching these videos, because for a long time, you just hope that people would see the truth, and you hope that enough people would have common sense to be like, they're kind of like not there. They're kind of crazy. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And whenever things just start imploding and things just start, coming full circle, then it's like, wow, yes, okay, this is good. Because people are starting to see you can't cover this crap up for forever. And I'm so glad that we are now seeing Trump just winning big time in the polls. That's huge. And, when we look at I asked if this is going to be a landslide. And out of 1,035 votes, 93% said yes. So we have a good feeling that this could be a landslide. I hope it's a red wave. I hope that they get the dream team in there. They're able to do some great, great things for the American people, putting American people first. That's what I hope. Because if we don't, if we keep having an American last mentality when it comes to our policies, whether domestic or foreign, whether it's our tax dollars, whether it's all this stuff, Americans will lose, and we will lose being the number one superpower. Mr. Tracy J. Norm, hey, this guy is killing it. Y'all got to show him some love in the chat. He said, we need to get back to the real Americanizita that I grew up on. Love your show, Joe. Hey, love you too, Mr. Norby. Hey, y'all show him some love in the chat. I want to give also some other shout outs to Shafika Rahim, Sandra Mario Enzi, Pam Campbell, David's Daily Global Media, Hey, want to welcome Judy Lynn, Loving Spirit, to the True Life News family. Summerman, guys, y'all are amazing. We couldn't do this without you. We're here to serve you, bring you the best news every single day. Make sure that you're fully informed across the board, showing you all the stats. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And just remember, we're taking these super chat donations. We're taking our member donations. We're going to donate it to hurricane victims for Milton and for Helene. We're going to do that in a little bit over a week. I love you all. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, supporting our growth. We're almost at 150,000 subscribers. Let's go. Hey, great show tonight, everybody. Love you all, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.